Right, well, here we are. Going live, apparently, it says. I can't see anywhere where you would... what? It says I'm now live. Yes, I'm over 10 seconds, apparently. I can copy the URL for this event, which I will actually do. Sounds like a good plan. They've changed everything. You go away for 6 months and they change everything that they're doing. We've got one viewer. Do I have any comments? Do I have any way of seeing comments? Hello, one viewer. I don't know who you are. I've got 2 viewers and 1 comment. But the comments aren't showing up. Right, okay, let's see what we can do about that. Anyway, hello. 4 viewers. Hello, 4 viewers. It isn't telling me who you are. Right, action needed. No, we can get rid of that. Comments. I see them. Hugh, Anne, hello. Am I coming and going? That's probably because I'm mumbling. Bonsoir, Christine. And yeah, it looks like this thing's actually sort of working. And hello, Caroline. Lovely to see you here. Yes, and yeah, hello everybody. Trevor! Fantastic to see you. Have you got a night off or something? Or is it, hang on, you're in America, so it's presumably during the daytime. And Evelyn, who might be Evelyn, I still haven't worked this out. Hello, you're watching. Right, well, here we are. Good evening, everyone. Evening to all, as Anne says. I'll try to stop looking at the screen above the camera and try and look at the camera instead. And I will I'll kick off with today's Batman item, which is, as you see, the Batman Annual for 2014. Let's turn the microphone up a little bit there. This job took me by surprise. You buy a Batman Christmas Annual in England, and the Christmas Annual market is really aimed for children. I'm fine, Evelyn, doing well. Talking about Batman, and normally these things are aimed at kids. This annual was a bit of a shock, really, because when I bought it, I read through it, and it's all kind of like grim, gritty, really dark artwork. I don't know if you can see it clearly through this, through what appears to be a very misty, soft focus Facebook, or maybe it's the camera on, maybe it's the webcam on my laptop. I don't know. I did try cleaning it, and it hasn't got any better than this. I think it's reacting to light sources. So yes, a grim, gritty Batman annual with very little in the way of toys. I think the whole thing's kind of possibly summed up by a feature here in the back about the Batmobile, and here is the Batmobile 1966 from the TV series in 1966, and it's basically your, as you can see, it's your basic American 1960s large gas guzzling saloon. Now, if you turn to the 21st century, what you get is, it's a tank. You know, let's face it, that's not a Batmobile, that's a tank, which tells you all about the changes in Batman in the last 50 years, from happy Bruce Wayne climbing up walls and being seduced by all kinds of Hollywood film stars, to grim, gritty, and running around Gotham City in a tank. So there you are. That's the Batman item for today. The drinking utensil. I haven't got any new cups. It's video transmission still dipping in and out. Yeah, it's probably still dipping in and out. It's probably Facebook, and it seems to be okay here. Chris, hey, Grand Rapids, Michigan. The location where I believe Robert Fripp told the 1974 version of the band that he was breaking the band up before the gig. Let's hope you don't have a similar experience, and that you're having a day off or something like that. Hey, great to see you anyway. So today's drinking utensil it's been used before. I just don't have any new ones. It's basically it's an enamel mug with little a black background and little dashes of white on it. It's rather pleasant. What am I drinking? Tap water. Let's go for it. Might as well go completely for drunk. Tap water. Thank you. Anyway, a bit of music. I've selected something here which, if I can find it, of course I haven't left the folder handy at all. Give me a moment while I find everything. Here we are. Yep. Excuse me. Right, I selected this because it kind of sums up, or at least deals with, the last 3 or 4 months of my life, so that I don't have to talk too much about any of that. So here we go. Excuse my vocal lack of prowess. Excuse the very dodgy backing track as well. Here I lie in my hospital bed. Tell me, Sister Morphine, when are you coming round again? Oh, and I don't think I can wait that long. Oh, you see that I'm not that strong. Instrumental bit with Ry Cooder on slide guitar, if I remember correctly. The scream of the ambulance is sounding in my ears. Tell me, Sister Morphine, how long have I been lying here? What am I doing in this place? Why does the doctor have no face? Oh, and I can't crawl across the floor. Ah, can't you see, Sister Morphine, I'm trying to score. More instrumental. I've forgotten there was this much instrumental. Excuse me while I scratch my nose. There we are. Who's coming up again? Well, it just goes to show things are not what they seem. Please, Sister Morphine, will turn my nightmares into dreams. Oh, and can't you see I'm fading fast? And that this shot will be my last. Sweet cousin cocaine, lay your cool hand on my head. Mr. Morphine, you better make up my bed. 'Cause you know, and I know, in the morning I'll be dead. Yeah, and you can sit around and you can watch all the clean white sheets stained red. And I think that's it. I think we've run out of vocals now, so I'll turn the volume down on this. And there we go, Sister Morphine by the Rolling Stones from the 1971 album Sticky Fingers. Obviously my experiences in hospital weren't quite that dramatic, but the first couple of verses where you're basically completely zonked out on morphine does actually pretty much capture what it was like for the first couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or so. I was taking a lot of morphine. Regular morphine shots 4 or 5 times a day. Anyway, while I was in hospital, I'm trying to get the screen back again. Where are we? Okay, Rupert, hello. There you are, 2 minutes ago. And Debbie's here as well. Hey, Debbie. And Vicky, hooray. Lots of people turning up. Roddy Gilliard, get off. All right, okay, fine. Goodbye. Or can I just like measure the screen or something like that? Yeah, how is it? It's about 13 inches wide. Okay. Subtitles, Mally, good to see you. Subtitles is provided entirely by Facebook, nothing to do with me at all. They're also telling me that my current frame rate is too low, but I just click on X and that little thing goes away. So yeah, lots of people here. Hi, fantastic. So there we were, Sister Morphine, experiences in hospital. I'm out. I'm still working with a crutch here. Hello, crutch. Say hello, people. That's the crutch. Do I have a rubber duck handy? Here we are. I've got a brownie birthday rubber duck. Here we are. Right, okay, that's covered the rubber ducks, we've covered Batman, we've covered the drinking utensil, we've covered me being in hospital, and while I was there, I had a Kindle, which for some weeks was my only form of entertainment, really, so I was doing a lot of reading, and I decided that I was going to catch up on lots of things that I never got around to reading in the past, starting with lots of old plays. I kicked off in the Restoration, having a look at various Restoration dramatists, and then moved backwards to the late 16th century, the era of Shakespeare, and started reading lots of obscure little plays written by dramatists that are not necessarily heard of, a lot of them anonymous. The kind of plays actually filled the theatres at the time, but aren't necessarily of any great poetic or literary value, which is the majority of the output. One of these playwrights, Thomas Heywood, published some of his plays towards the end of his life in the 1630s, and he wrote a preface to one of them claiming that he had either written or had the main part in writing over 200 plays. Heywood had a long professional life. If he'd written or contributed to 5 plays a year throughout that, 200 is actually possible. Whether he's exaggerating, exaggeration's also perfectly possible. We don't know. We don't know a lot. So many plays went missing during that period. So I ended up on the works of Robert Greene. Greene lived between, we know when he died, he was born somewhere in the 1550s. He died in 1592 in considerable poverty writing lots of pamphlets complaining about his condition. And he's most famous because one of his deathbed pamphlets took a bit of a swipe at a new dramatist on the scene. It was called Shakespeare. And it's one of the few contemporary references to Shakespeare that we have. Green was one of what was referred to as the university wits. He'd studied at Cambridge and Oxford, took his MA at Oxford, and he turned to professional writing, although there's not much of a trace, apart from considerable use of Latin references and so on, rather along the lines of Boris Johnson. His work wasn't particularly sophisticated. He comes across, to my mind, as a writer who was very definitely in it for the money, and that's why he took to writing plays towards the end of his life. He realised in the late 1580s theatre was beginning to take off in a big way in London, and there was a market for plays and he could make some money here. And indeed there is an account of him selling the rights for one of his plays to one theatre company for 20 shillings and then selling the rights to another company for another 20 shillings. So a bit of a wide boy on the quiet. Well, actually not on the quiet, because he also wrote quite a number of pamphlets about the art of coney catching. Now, coney was the Elizabethan word for rabbit, but coney catching was a term used to refer to the practice of gulling, of conning money out of innocent people, particularly innocents arriving from the country, turning up in London and being met by friendly people whose aim was to con them out of all of their money. And Green wrote a number of pamphlets exposing this and the kind of tricks that were in use. But he also wrote all these plays, and his plays, and reading through them, there's only five plays that we know are definitely by Green, and reading through them, it comes across to me as an exercise in a man who's figuring out as he goes how to write a play. His first play is little more than a weak imitation of a play called Tamburlaine by Christopher Marlowe, who was one of the most highly rated dramatists prior to Shakespeare. And his second play is called Orlando Furioso. And we're going to stick around here for much of the rest of this broadcast. Green's Orlando Furioso it claims to be a version of the very long epic poem written by the Italian poet Ludovico Ariosto between 1503 and 1530. Now, at that point, I think it's probably time for me to hit you up with some more music. And we will come back to Orlando Furioso in a moment, going off in a completely different direction, or not, depending what I've got on the folder here. No, actually, let's not. I'm going to play Orlando Furioso is set in roughly the early medieval period. It's around the 9th or 10th centuries. It's coming up towards the Crusades. So here's a little tune from actually the 11th century. It claims to have been written by King Richard I, and it's called Janou Rompri. Now, don't ask me if I've got the pronunciation right. Nobody knows, because this is medieval Anglo-French. So, Janou Rompri, or Janou Rompri. Just missed the first note there. Okay. have it with a bit of a simple medieval harp accompaniment, not played by me, I hasten to add. I don't have any medieval harps around the house. Janon Rompry, claimed to have been written by King Richard I of England while he was in prison on his way back from the Crusade in the Holy Land. He'd been captured on his way across Europe and imprisoned, was being held for ransom, and he's supposed to have written this song. Whether he actually did is anybody's guess, really. So many of these things in history are romances. And Richard I, for example, bringing us on to another thing, Ladybird books. I went and saw an exhibition of Ladybird books last week at the local art gallery. Splendid exhibition, original art, lots of ladybirds sitting around that you could read, lots of original art up on the walls and explanations of how the books were published and printed and so on. Tremendous piece of work. But I was reminded I have a few ladybirds, and amongst them I have the 2-volume Kings and Queens of England. And King John, who was the successor to King Richard I, and is regarded as one of the great villains of English royal history, compared with Richard. Richard is Richard the Lionheart, Richard Coeur de Lion, one of the great British heroes, whereas King John is regarded as a bad king who usurped his brother's position while Richard was at the Crusades. And it all became tied up in the 19th century with the Robin Hood legends, which were conflated with Norman French history. King John became one of the villains against whom Robin Hood was fighting, and in some versions of the stories, Richard I actually returned to the country in secret, connected with Robin Hood, fought against his brother and freed all Robin Hood and his outlaws, and said, "I'm going back to the wars, but I will return." A great British folk hero. Again, history. The fact of the matter is, Richard was the Duke of Aquitaine, which he had inherited from his mother, Queen Eleanor, the Duchess of Aquitaine, and he was absolutely thoroughly French. He spent maybe 10 months of his 10-year reign in England, much of it to prepare for a coronation and to raise very large amounts of taxes to fund his journey to the Holy Land to fight for the recovery of Jerusalem. So he wasn't a great king for England at all. In fact, the indications are that he didn't really have any interest whatsoever in England, apart from it was somewhere he could raise cash. John, on the other hand, did actually rule England, and although under pressure from his barons, was compelled to sign a charter called the Magna Carta, the Great Charter, which was the beginning of some kind of guarantee of rights to people, human rights, legal rights, and so on. In the first place, mostly to the barons and the aristocracy, but it's marked as the beginning of British democracy. And that's down to Prince John, who wasn't all that bad after all, not really one of the villains. Okay, back to Orlando Furioso, which is taking place a couple of hundred years earlier, and the Orlando Furioso's actually based. How are we doing here? Ah, yes, we've got the crunch, we've got the duck. Hi, Jan, good to see you. Sorry, I'm forgetting to look at all the comments. Hi, Jan, I hope everything's well. Right, okay, carrying on. The Orlando Furioso, it derives from an earlier epic, which is regarded, I think, as Andy says here, England was indeed just a part of the Angevin Empire, and not a particularly significant part at that time in history. Going back 200 or 300 years to the reign of Charlemagne, Charles the Great, the Holy Roman Emperor, there were various wars going on against the Spanish and the Basques, and constant wars going on for control of the area now known as France. or a smaller part of it, in fact. And Charles was really based around Paris, which was a fairly small area of country. Whole tracts were connected to the English crown rather than to the French crown. Normandy, Aquitaine, these were English ruled areas. One of the productions of the reign of Charlemagne, written maybe 100 years later, is an epic which is considered, I believe, to be the first of the great French literary epics, and it's called La Chanson de Roland, or in English, The Song of Roland. A story that some of you may have heard of. The centrepiece of it is a battle in a pass, somewhat like the old Greek story of Thermopylae, I think. A battle of several knights holding a pass, holding a rearguard action to protect the army of Charles against a huge army of invading Saracens. Historically, they weren't Saracens, but that's how it came out in the epic, which was written around the time of the First Crusade, around the time of Richard I. And it's the battle of the nobles and Roland, who refuses to blow his horn to summon back the army to help the rear guard. He says, "No, it's a source of honour. I must fight on. I must fight on without help." And he's eventually forced to blow the horn, but too late. He and all his companions are killed, and they're lying there dead in the pass of Roncesvalles in the Pyrenees by the time that King Charles and his army return. Now, Roland is Orlando. Orlando is the Italian version of the name Roland. And the Orlando Furioso is one of two major attempts several centuries later to write a kind of backstory, because the Song of Roland tells you about the end of Roland's life and his death. So the Orlando Furioso is a story about about his earlier days, how he was fighting as part of the army of Charles, and how he was in love with the beautiful Angelica, Queen of Cathay. Again, like the history, the geography is all very vague. You should pay no attention to it. Should not try to equate geography of medieval and Renaissance epic poetry with anything that you see on a map today. It's all very vague, very different. The names are being used for the purpose of exotic entertainment rather than anything factual. So Angelica, the Queen of Cathay, and everyone's in love with Angelica. She is the unattainable, most beautiful woman in the world, spending much of the poem on the run, from night after night after night. She eventually falls in love with a commoner, not one of the knights at all, a common soldier who's a very pretty boy, and she falls in love with him and she marries him. And they make their way to the coast of Spain, find a ship, sail off back to Cathay, and Angelica's out of the story. But Orlando finds where she and her new husband have written love poems and carved their names in the bark of trees. And this is such a shock to him that he goes mad. This is why Orlando Furioso. He runs amok. He starts doing ridiculously heroic things, rooting trees, killing people left, right and centre, grabbing people and literally stretching his arms open and ripping them in two pieces. There's lots of bloodthirsty stuff in this poem, by the way. Just pause for breath there. And it all... I'll start again. So the centre of the poem is supposedly Orlando Furioso, Orlando enraged, Roland enraged, Roland gone mad. And his madness is the centrepiece of Robert Greene's version, which doesn't actually bear much resemblance at all. It's a bit like an old Hollywood version of a story, which throws most of the story away and writes mostly a new one. Greene wanted mad scenes. Mad scenes were clearly very entertaining. This was based on a big hit in the English theatre of the 1580s called The Spanish Tragedy, written by Thomas Kyd. and it involves large amounts of bloodshed and revenge, particularly revenge. It placed revenge as a key dramatic motif in the writings of the day. Shakespeare's major revenge tragedy is Hamlet. Hamlet taking revenge upon his family for the murder of his father. The Spanish tragedy is blood and guts. Everybody dies nastily, horribly, with blood all over the place, and it was a whopping great hit. The taste for horror is absolutely nothing new. We can go back to Oedipus putting his eyes out and all the horrific things that happen in Greek tragedy, and in the 16th century, blood, thunder, madness, and there's a scene there is a point in Green's Orlando Furiosa with a stage direction saying, I think the stage direction says, if I remember correctly, enter Orlando with a leg over his neck, or a leg hanging from his shoulder, or something like that. Lots of gory spectacle was extremely popular. Shakespeare's most popular play, in fact, was a piece called Titus Andronicus. When I say popular, in terms of performances during his lifetime, it was performed more, it seems, than any other of his plays. And it's incest, rape, mutilation, murder, you name it, it's got everything you need to be a big smash hit. And that's basically what Green reduced Orlando Furiosa to, a bit of a bloodbath, a lot of mad scenes, and some nice, horrific entertainment, which doesn't really capture the spirit of the poem at all. Right, how are we doing? Let's just have a quick glance at the comments here. Right, nobody commenting. Am I still going out? I wonder. Is everybody sitting there? Everybody gone away to watch Love Island, as recommended by our lovely Home Secretary, perhaps? Yep. It's telling me the last comment was 6 minutes ago, 7 minutes ago. Oh well, you're all being quiet. That's okay. Time for a bit more music, I think. Now Hugh, who's on here, hi Hugh again. Hugh had his 70th birthday last week, and we've been swapping around lists of songs and so on, and one of them is a song called Hold Back the Night, specifically in the version by Graham Parker and the Rumour, which was a minor hit in, I think, 1978, but the song had actually been a hit before then. I see David Fowler. All right, Dave. All right, everybody listening. All right, Dave. Loads of you here. Right, fantastic. In that case, I'm going to sing. That will drive everybody off. Hold Back the Night was a hit for Graham Parker and the Rumour in 1978. I think Hugh will correct me if it isn't. It was, however, a cover of a disco hit for a band called Tramps, spelt with two M's, Trammps, and that was in 1975 or 1976, I think. So I've gone for that version. So let's do a little bit of disco. You'll have to absolutely excuse me on this. This may well, if you choose to run away at this point, I wouldn't be at all surprised, because this song is really actually too high for me. But what the heck? The Crutchler's just come to say hello again. Right, let's grab a recorder and see if we can do some disco. Yay! It's got a long introduction, this one. Turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you baby. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you. No, when you left, you took the sun right out of the sky. Yes, you did. Now I'm wondering why you went away and never told me why. When the sun goes down and the moon is near, I'm scared to death cause your face appears. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you, baby. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you. No, loneliness is haunting me when I go to bed. Honey, like a character in a book that I have read. Yeah, when the sun goes down and the moon is near, I'm scared to death cause your face appears. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Ooh, it's a little break. About you, baby. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you no more. When the sun goes down and the moon is near, I'm scared to death cause your face appears. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you, baby. Hold back the night, turn on the light, don't wanna dream about you, no, no, no. Hold back the nights, turn on the lights. I don't wanna dream about you. There you go. Hold Back the Night by The Tramps, Tramps. And in case you think that that was completely irrelevant, hi Indra! And yes, indeed, Rupert, Percy is still in his perch. Yep, and in case you think that that was completely irrelevant, why am I doing a disco number while talking about poems, epic Italian poems written in the 16th century? Well, if you listen to the lyrics there, it talked about something that you read in a book about not being able to sleep, and you want to hold back the night because you don't want to cope with, you don't want to dream about your girlfriend who's gone. You don't want to be stuck asleep, tossing and turning, faced with memories and tears. Or hold back the nice, indeed, says you. Here come the nice. Now, the Ariosto Furioso flipping heck. The Orlando Furioso by Ludovico Ariosto is divided into 46 cantos, canto being the standard poetic term for a set of verses. It's all derived from song. Canto is the Italian for song. These poems were originally intended to be sung and recited. So 46 cantos with up to 100 or more verses. It's a very, very long poem, and I admit I haven't yet finished it. I'm 3/4 of the way through. Even though it's a speed read, it's hundreds of pages long. However, with reference to the Tramps, in Canto 31 of 46, Ariosto describes the plight of the lovely warrior maiden Bradamante, who is a Christian warrior maiden desperately in love with the pagan knight Ruggiero. And truthfully, their story probably takes up more of Orlando Furioso than Orlando does himself. And it ends, spoiler alert, the poem ends with their marriage. with the marriage of Ruggiero and Bradamante. But at Canto 31, Bradamante has just received the news, false news, it's all fake news, that Ruggiero is taken off with Marfisa, another warrior maiden. And if you've been watching this page, I posted a picture, a 19th century painting of Marfisa yesterday as part of the run-up to this stream. So, Canto 31, Bradamante is lamenting the loss of Ruggiero, who she's been told is about to get married to this other woman. And it's, you know, it's absolutely summed up in the lyrics of Hold Back the Night by Tramps. These are universal themes. Are they universal themes because everybody experiences them? Or are they because they've been enshrined in so much poetry and writing that everyone's absorbed them from that? Which way round does it work? I don't know. I don't have an answer. Anyway, back to Robert Greene. Robert Greene carried on writing plays. His Orlando was part of his experimentation. By his fifth play, James IV of Scotland, who was a historical character, and the title page of the play as published refers to the Battle of Flodden, where James was actually killed in conflict with the English troops in the year 1512. That doesn't actually happen in the play at all. And Greene clearly outlined the idea of the play as it's a piece of entertainment. What you need to do is you put entertaining stuff in it. If there's anything else that is of value or truth, then that's almost incidental. The point is to provide things. Greene played strictly to the audience. Perhaps this is why he's not so great as Shakespeare, who I think probably did not play strictly to the audience. He included elements that would satisfy the audience, but Shakespeare seems to be a man sitting there writing poetry as much as anything else. That's his key aim, is to create beautiful poetry. So, cutting back, and I'm doing this stream is wandering all over the place, because that too is part of Ariosto. Ariosto will tell a story and then he'll cut off and go to another part of the story, and then to another part of the story, and then tell a story within a story within a story. Sorry about the spoiler alert on James IV, but the play doesn't end like that. You're going to have to read the play, because in actual fact, well, I won't tell you. No spoiler alerts on the play. Spoiler alerts on the historical fact. Well, Nick, you have reminded me. Nick, hi, great to see you. Nick has reminded me here that this is another of my long-time obsessions, is newspapers, news reporting, and the very oldest news sheet, the oldest newspaper that we have is... No, you won't need to. No, you do need to, because I haven't told you the ending of the play. You might find out all kinds of interesting things about devils, apart from anything else. Lots of devils in the play. James IV, defeated at the Battle of Flodden by the English troops in 1512. Riders travelled very quickly from the north of England to London, and within 2 or 3 days a news sheet was rushed out reporting on the results of the battle, complete with a little picture, a little woodcut picture that was specifically made as a depiction of the battle. And in terms of comics, which are my main source of interest in this kind of thing, it's a very interesting woodcut because it combines 3 or 4 scenes in one picture. It tells a visual story, but the last bit of the story is a picture of the Scottish king. You know he's a Scottish king because he's not because of what he looks like, but because he's got a standing tent with the flag of Scotland on the top of the tent, a pennant, and I don't know, is Christine saying that she's watching a lot? I haven't noticed. So, and he's seen handing the crown over to the victorious English forces. He didn't. This was the very first English newspaper story contained a whopping great mistake, implying that the king was alive, whereas in actual fact he had died during the battle. Um, you can choose what you want to think. That this may say all kinds of things about reporting, the nature of reporting, or it may say nothing about it at all. I just like the idea that the first ever British newspaper was a single story with a whopping great mistake in it. So now, Nick, go and read the play. Robert Greene, James IV. You'll love it. It's actually pretty good. It's Greene had got better writing play after play, but shortly after he wrote James IV, he died. He was living in the slums in London. He was living in penury with a mistress and various other criminals, and he. Oh, that's interesting. Right, back to that. And he was basically in a terrible condition. He had no money. He was desperately writing pamphlets in his last illness to try and raise some money to pay for his funeral and so on. And that was it. That was the end of his playwriting career and his writing career, obviously. The 19th century editors of Greene and the 19th century edited a lot of Elizabethan material. And it's been left at that. I don't think there is a 20th century edition of Greene's works. Anything you find around is a reprint of the work of Grosart and other editors of the late 19th century. And the late 19th century editors seem to believe that Greene was the most popular, most widely read author of the 1580s, and Steve Mack's Watling too. I'm Watling too, by the way, but I'm not saying anything about it. So this is interesting, really, isn't it? Facebook is now putting in little messages in case no one. I suppose this is in case no one's making any comments, and you're doing your live stream and it's falling flat completely. No one's saying anything about it. Facebook will put in little messages saying, "I'm watching." Or do I get this completely wrong? Anyway, hi Steve. Hopefully see you at the weekend. Again, quick hello to everybody from the crutch once more. Yep, Father Christmas Duck appearing early for Christmas. The shops are full of Christmas decorations, so he wanted to come out. Right, yeah, you're all still there in Grand Rapids, fantastic. As I explained to Chris, Grand Rapids, Michigan was the town where Robert Fripp informed the other members of King Crimson in 1974 that he was breaking up the band just before the gig. Fantastic, Steve. Looking forward to it, mate. Right, where can I carry on? I've still got some music. I think I've still got some music. Let me just look in my folder here. Have I still got some music? Oh, no, I haven't. I've actually run out of pieces of music that I've prepared. So I'll play a bit of recorder. I've done this one before. I've played this one before, and I always get it slightly wrong, so I'll play it again and probably get it slightly wrong again. This is a piece by Bach. It's from it's a minuet from the first suite for solo cello, but it's arranged for a recorder, which I will make my excuses here and now. It's written for an instrument with 4 strings, not for a wind instrument which plays one note at a time. So let's have a bash anyway. was almost right. Perhaps the next time I play this on one of these streams, I'll actually get it completely correct. I think there was one fake note there, but that was okay. That was better. It's getting better. It's getting better all the time. Yeah, absolutely, Nick. I've run out of music, so I will play my recorder. We're getting towards the end, I see. It's 52 minutes in, according to the Facebook clock in the corner. If anyone has a song request, shout out. Write something in the comments right now, and I will find something. I've got a big pile of... I've got a hard drive here with a terabyte of karaoke tracks on it. So name a song, and it's quite possible that if I know it and if I have it, I can find it and give it a go. Okay, back to Ladybird books. The Ladybird exhibition that I went and saw last Wednesday was a wonderful, wonderful thing, really. Ladybird books, for those who don't know about them, Ladybird books, I should have got one out. I should have dug one out. I have a few knocking around. None of them are easily accessible. Ladybird books were little hardcover books produced for children about this size, these dimensions. They were on all kinds of subjects: nature, science, series about how things work. I, as someone who's always loved history since they were a very small child, liked all the history books. And it was a thorough treat to sit there and find a big pile of these things that you could look through, books that I haven't seen, books that I've not read since I was maybe, 7 or 8. I have a few of them. They're no longer published in the same form. I believe that the imprint still exists, but it's published by a different publisher in a different format. The original ones sell for quite a lot these days. They had some at the exhibition available for buyers if you wanted to pay £4 a copy, which I find very difficult because they were 2 and 6 when I was a kid. Although, as I observed, 2 and 6 was pricey. I hadn't really thought about this, but for 2 and 6 in the early 1960s, you could buy a full-length novel in paperback for kids in one of various paperback imprints. Armada, for example. I was buying Biggles books for probably less. I think the Biggles books, first Biggles books I bought, were more like 1 and 6. Sorry, Evelyn. Yes, I am wittering on about history and the past, about my own past at the moment. One of the great treats was to find a copy of Magnets, Bulbs and Batteries, which I remember having as a kid. And it was a book. It was basically a book of things that you could do with batteries and little light bulbs and work out the basics of electricity, make your own light bulb, and so on. Or my favourite, copper plating. There was a page. The format of the Ladybirds when you opened them was a page of text on the left and an illustration, a painted illustration on the right. Copper sulfate was required to do copper plating, and they gave you an experiment in the Ladybirds were indeed hardback. Yeah, true, but I think my idea is that you could get, yes, absolutely, 2 and 6 was a common price in the early 1960s, Hugh, and I suppose my feeling, Andy, was that you could get more bang for your buck, so to speak, lapsing into Americanism there, but you could get a better deal by buying a book that might take you a bit more time to read, whereas Ladybirds were mostly, pretty quick reads, especially the storybooks, large print, quick reads. But things like Magnets, Bulbs and Batteries, I looked at it, and the page on, just as I remembered it, the page on copper plating said, for this you will need some copper sulfate crystals. You can buy you should be able to buy 6 months worth of these from your local chemist or ironmonger. And indeed, this was absolutely true. In 1963, I went to the local chemist and asked if he had some copper sulfate crystals, and he sold me 6 months worth. He sold me a little wrap of blue crystals for 6 months, and I was able to put them in a jam jar, half full with water, put a nail, a big 6-inch nail, in the clam jar, get a battery with 2 poles, bike lamp batteries we used to call them, so two cylinders fixed together with a central pole and a pole on top, and you connected a wire to one pole and draped it into the water, and a wire to the other pole and connected it to the nail, and sat back, and in due course your nail developed a copper layer. And I did it with coins as well. You could throw pennies in there, and your pennies would copper plate and look all fresh and new. Although you found out pretty quickly that the copper plating was very thin and wiped off very fast. But just little things like that you could do, little experiments. That perhaps is why I was really interested in growing up to be a scientist. And I don't. That was something that was big with me when I was a child. I loved history, but I also loved science, and I really looked forward to getting to school, secondary school, so I could do science lessons. When I actually got to secondary school, I discovered it didn't make any sense to me at all. I was very quickly lost in a mist of complete incomprehension. I could not understand all these details that apparently I needed to know in order to study science. So I struggled on for a bit, but it was such hard work and so dispiriting, really, that I stuck with the things that I knew that I was good at. I stuck with reading and writing and history and music, and here I am, still doing exactly the same things. So nobody got any musical requests? Paused in case anybody has a musical request. Okay. Well, I could theoretically look through the karaoke file and pick something out almost entirely at random. I haven't had any saxophone today, by the way, because I'm still getting upstairs fairly slowly, and lugging a saxophone up the stairs isn't something I particularly wanted to do right now. So it's all been recorders and vocals and me talking away. So let's have a quick look. What do I got here? Got a big file marked karaoke. What can I possibly do here? Oh, that's an interesting one. Right. Okay, but I'm not going to do it. What have we got under Nat King Cole? I'm not really getting anywhere with this at all. No, I keep looking in folders and not finding what I want. So let's go for something absolutely straightforward, which this time will, I think, actually have absolutely nothing to do with any of the subject matter of this very rambling, discursive story within a story, idea within an idea stream. Okay, so let's do this. Again, probably too high for me. Last night I said these words to my girl. Whoa, wobbly. I know you never even try, girl. Come on, 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 come on. So please, please, oh yeah, like I please you. You don't need me to to show the way, love? Oh no, the voice is gone. Why do I always have to say, love? Come on, 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 come on. So please be, oh yeah, like I please you. I don't want to sound complaining, but you know there's always rain in my arms. I do all the pleasing with you, it's so hard to reason with you, yeah. Oh yeah, why do you make me blue? And again, last night I said these words to my girl. Oh, I know you never even try, girl. Come on, 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 come on. Please, please me, oh yeah, like I please you. Oh yeah, like I please you. Oh yeah, like I please you. Oh. Copyright Dick James Music. Is it really copyright Dick James Music? I didn't know that. I thought it was probably... it's a bit early for Northern songs. You wanted to be an astronomer? I haven't got Johnny Remember Me, Nick. No, I've only got... I've got 2-volume Kings and Queens of England. Oh, Johnny Remember Me. Hang on. Johnny Remember Me. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Ladybirds, Nick, but I gather it's actually it's a karaoke request. Okay, let me dig this up again. I'm not even sure how it goes. That's the problem. Is it a song that I know? It isn't. Besides, everything sounds good on a recorder. No, the search isn't going well, I'm afraid. Or rather, it's taking too long for me to sit there and watch a little Windows wheel going round and round and round. Trying to find something else that I could do. Oh yeah, let's do this. Here's a great song. I don't know if I can do it, but it's a great song, so let's do it. With a 10-second intro. This may be the end for tonight. I bought a toothbrush, some toothpaste, a flannel for my face, pajamas, a hairbrush, new shoes and a new case. I said to my reflection, let's get out of this place. Past the church and the steeple, the laundry on the hill, billboards and the buildings, the memories of it still keep calling. And they keep calling, but forget it all, I know I will. We're tempted by the fruit of another, tempted but the fruit is discovered. What's been going on? Now that you have gone, there's no other. We're tempted by the fruit of another. We're tempted, but the truth is discovered. Ooh, nasty key. I'm at the car park, the airport, the baggage carousel. People keep on grabbing me, I'm wishing I was well. I said it's no occasion, it's no story I could tell. Storytelling. At my bedside, pocket a foot without a sock. You body gets much closer. I fumble for the clock, alarmed about the seduction, and I wish that it would stop. Tempted by the fruit of another, tempted but the truth is discovered. What's been going on? Now that you've gone, there's no other. Tempted by the fruit of another. We're tempted but the truth is discovered. I bought a novel, some perfume, a fortune all for you. But it's not my conscience that hates to be untrue. I asked of my reflection, tell me what is there to do. Yeah, tempted by the fruit of another. We're tempted but the truth is discovered. What's been going on? Now that you've gone, there's no other. Tempted by the fruit of another. Tempted but the truth is discovered. Hey, yeah, well, tempted by the fruit of another. Tempted but the truth is discovered. Tempted by the fruit of another. Well, tempted but the truth is discovered. Tempted by the truth of another. The fruit of another. Tempted but the fruit is discovered. It's in the fruit bowl now. Okay. And that was a little massacre of Tempted by Squeeze. A great song. Don't like their big hits mostly, but that was a terrific one. Really a great thing. No, you're right, Andy. I didn't remember her, or him, or it, or something 60s, Elvis. No, you got Squeeze instead, Hugh. And on that note, I think, I'm actually going to call it a day. It's coming up to about 10 past 9. And I've nearly finished my exciting cup of water. And, well, yes, there's been a lot of stuff about the Orlando Furioso and about Robert Greene and about... Oops, push that back a bit so you can see me, as if you want to see me. On a final note, I'm wearing here a Bailey's straw hat. And it may be for the last time. I may manage another couple of days, but basically straw hat season lasts officially from May the 15th to September the 15th, which is Thursday. And after that, on Thursday, I'll have to go back to being a... I'll go back to felt fedoras. Apparently, in the 1920s, this was taken so seriously that if you appeared on the streets of New York and London and other cities after September the 15th wearing a straw hat, you were liable to have it snatched off your head and broken, ripped to pieces, or punched through the crown and generally destroyed. Because you weren't supposed to be wearing a straw hat anymore. It was now officially autumn and you were supposed to be wearing a felt hat. So I'm kind of sticking with that. I've been wearing felt hats for most of the summer. But we're coming to the end of it now, maybe a couple of days more, and then the felt hats will be going back in storage for the winter, and I'll be back to fedoras. And if you see me again for another stream soon, then that's what I will be wearing. And there you go, your last little piece of history for the night. Thank you everyone for being here. This setup's not very, it's a bit cack-handed. It's quite difficult to follow, bit difficult to actually follow the comments and make notes on them and say anything. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for being here, greatly appreciated. I see there's lots of comments and a number of reactions. It's all here in some kind of format in front of me on Facebook. But now I've reached the end. It's the final curtain. I'm going to cut this off for the night. I'm going to click on the bit where it says end live video, and I'm going to download it, and I'm going to put it up on YouTube so that if anybody really feels the need to have a look again, there it will be. I hope the subtitles have been adequate, Christine. As I say, I've got nothing to do with them. The Facebooks are entirely provided. The subtitles are entirely provided by Facebook, and they don't show up on my monitor screen of the stream, so I've no idea what they're saying. I'll find out about this when I download the thing and get it up on YouTube. Okay, once again, thanks everybody. Take lots of care, and we'll all be here. Merci. Right, Steve. Merci bien, Christine. Cheers, Andy. Bye, Dave. Lots of people saying goodbye. Right, goodbye, everybody. I'll do another one of these again in due course. I don't know. I'm not promising anything. I'll do one when I've possibly read something else entirely and I feel like talking about it. Okay? Right. Everyone take care. See you all soon. Night night.